New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Good morning. Here it is, Saturday morning on the New Thought Media Network. Welcome to the Science of Mind and Spirit Conversation Series. I'm Barbara Jean Schreiner-Trudell, founder and spiritual director of the Universal Joy Center in Toronto, Canada, and my pronouns are she, they. Well, there's a team of us, as you saw in the opening graphic, and every Saturday morning we join you here on the New Thought Media Network to share the science of mind, the principles, the practice, and more than anything else, how to apply those principles in your life today. That's the good part. So if you're watching live, let me know. I would love to chat. You can put a greeting in the chat, and it would be wonderful for you to throw in a question or a comment, and if I can, I'll weave it right in. Throughout today's show, write questions. I'm happy to answer them and use them through the process. Now, how does this Saturday morning thing work? Well, from January to July, we go through the Science of Mind textbook, chapter by chapter. And then in the last remaining months, we explore the articles and resources in the Science of Mind Library and Archives, which is available 24/7, and it helps us to go even deeper. We can read more of Ernest Holmes' writings and other resources related to the Science of Mind specifically. There's so much there that we refer to, and so all of it is of value. So consider joining sciencemindarchives.com. And our topic today comes from a little book that was written by the Reverend Dr. Ernest Holmes. Pardon me. And he has, he's written a lot of really good things. This one is new to me, and I decided just to use a portion of it. And so what I'm using today is from page 29, and it is about using spiritual power. We all have it. It's just whether or not we're using it consciously or not. And I think sometimes we forget that our words have power. So really important to pay attention and begin to use the power consciously. So let us begin. I'm just turning to the page. So using spiritual power, when we define spiritual power, we're talking about a dynamic quality of that invisible essence, the essence of life, intelligence, and law that we call God or first cause. Now, if you don't like the word God, you can use universe or spirit. So don't let that word get in the way of you experiencing the fullness of what this teaching offers. The conscious use of this power comes from the recognition that it actually exists, right? So we can sit back and we can pray and we can talk and we can go to church on Sunday and all kinds of great stuff. But if we don't believe that the power exists, not intellectually, we have to actually believe it. And when we actually believe it, we can begin to use it consciously. So the conscious use of this power comes from the recognition that it exists, and responds to us, that we can directly contact and definitely use it. That there is such an invisible essence of life is evident throughout all nature, the visible side of which but proclaims the invisible essence. Objective nature, our own bodies included, is a phenomena of the invisible cause, which we call spirit. So we live, move, and have our being in the universe, which makes perfect sense, correct? So we're in it, we're part of it, we're being it, we are definitely using it, and we're using it whether we know it or not. Like if I think, oh, I'm such an idiot, the universe goes, yes, because it's just going to respond to whatever I give it. I am incredible, fabulous, smart, intelligent, and the universe says yes. So we want to make sure that we remember the power of our words as we're using this spiritual power. Pardon me. So we are an incarnation of this invisible cause, not by choice, but rather by the law of life. And as we touch our own thought, I'm sorry about that. As we touch our own thought, we touch it. We reach God in that moment. So the power that we're using is not something outside of us. It's not something different than us. It's actually who we are. It is the essence of all that we think, say, and do. And as we use our own thought, we use it powerfully and positively and productively. So the power that we use is available everywhere. It's the nature of the universe. So as Hegel said, so sorry, that's my brother's phone and I can't shut it off. The universe consists of will and representation. This will is intelligent knowingness. Its representation is creation. The will of spirit, or the universal will, must be goodness, truth, and beauty. So when we look at what we're doing in the world, are we angry, frustrated, upset? Are we playing games of, what to do, where to go? Oh, life is hard, it's difficult. Life is what we think it is. So we want to make sure that we are living in a space of openness, of receptivity to allowing ourselves to show up in the world in a way that is powerful and positive and productive. Okay? And it's all up to us. So the will of spirit, or the universal will, must be goodness, truth, and beauty. So if we're going through life and we're having a miserable time, then we need to check in with our thinking, because our thinking will change it. Not eventually, it will change it immediately. And we can do that ourselves. This will, as we imbibe its nature, we come into its harmony. The divine does not come to us bringing an olive branch of peace with which to allay our confusion. The divine knows no confusion. It persists in remaining true to its own nature. The will of spirit is peace. Only the finite is confused. Now, where do we find the finite? That's us. That's us. We're the ones who are putting rules on this power. We're the ones saying, oh, not today, maybe tomorrow, oh, maybe next year, oh, I'm not sure I'm ready. We're the ones who are holding back. Spirit never has. Never, ever, ever, ever has. It's right there, ready, willing, able to say yes. Not to some things, but to everything. To everything. And that's the piece you really want to anchor onto, the everything. Because if it's saying yes to everything, if I believe in poverty, it's saying yes to poverty. If I believe in, evil in the world, well, I'm sure I'm going to find it, or it's going to find me. We have a choice about what we think. Nobody's thinking our thoughts except us. Why is it that we choose to think negativity? Why do we choose to judge and criticize others? Why not recognize that we're all one, and that we come together as one to the degree that we are willing to open our minds and hearts and celebrate the day that we're in, celebrate the now moment, because this now moment has power. It's the only time there's power. is now. Of course, the past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist. So we really have to be present in the now moment, pay attention to the words that we're using. So as we enter the atmosphere of peace, our confusion vanishes. And it's not done through objective power nor by might, but through a realization and an embodiment of the presence which transcends confusion. The spiritual presence in the universe is real and dynamic. Our consciousness is so at one with the universal law of cause and effect that when we know confusion, we become confused. When we know peace, we become peaceful. So what are you choosing? We can choose frustration, upset. We can choose anything because the universe is just going to respond. And this is the part that we've forgotten. Like, we'll do affirmations. I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. And then a bill comes in and we hide it in a drawer. Does that sound like rich? It sounds like fear. I don't have enough. But if the source and substance of our existence is the universe itself, if it is a place of beauty, love, goodness, then there is a way to shift my belief about poverty, my belief about illness, my belief about whatever lack and limitation I've placed on it. And sometimes we don't know what those things are because they're buried in the subjective mind. So we want to allow that to come up. So as we're doing our treatment work and as we're really opening ourselves up to something bigger, we will get insights, we will get inspiration. And that's the stuff we want to pay attention to. Life never expresses by external impartation, but always by a process of inner awareness. The very breath we breathe is God. We are not evolved from that which is unlike spirit to that which is like spirit. We are evolved within spirit by, from, and of spirit. And the ignorance of the law of our own being, well, such ignorance continues and it produces bondage or suffering. And it is not as though there were a power of good on one side and evil on the other side. There is but one power, one ultimate power. This power is to each one whatever we believe it is. The divine exists to each one as a measure of our own belief. So what is it that you believe? What do you believe about your life? What do you believe about your journey? What do you believe about your neighbors, your spouse, your friends? I mean, what do you believe? And sometimes we're not clear about what that is, but one of the ways to discover it is to sit in meditation. And you know how the mind does its thing. It runs around. Notice where it runs. Notice what it's saying. What does it say when I get up in the morning and look in the mirror? Or, wow, thank you, God. Like, what is it that we're doing? How are we responding to that divine oneness? And do we actually believe it? Now, the question arises whether any limit can be placed upon the possibility of the conscious use of spiritual power. Theoretically, it would seem impossible to place such limit. The only intention would be that of belief and understanding. See, the spirit of itself in its original state must be ever present within us. It refuses to change through any process of time. It refuses to be divided. So consequently, the entire wholeness itself is immediately at the point of our perception. All of it. So we say that God is all powerful, God is all knowing, God is everywhere present. Well, what does that mean to you? If God is everywhere present, then God is where you are. And it's not sitting beside you, and it's not just sitting within you. It is the cells of your body, the activity of your life, the thoughts that you think, all of it, the breath that you breathe, all of it is God stuff. All of it. And the way we direct it is by our thinking. So what are you thinking about? Thinking about lunch? Thinking about breakfast? Thinking about dinner? Depends where you are in the world today. What is it that you're thinking about? What is it that has got your attention? Because whatever you're focusing on, that is what's going to expand. That's what's going to be attracted into your life. So the question would not be how far can principle allow itself to be used, but rather how greatly can we understand it? Since its whole purpose must be that of self-expression, it must be its nature to represent itself spontaneously through our will, through our imagination, fulfilling our intentions, desires, or plans, and in so doing, it finds self-expression. The only limitation being that we must approach it in its own nature. In such degree as we are in alignment with its nature, its power must be ours. Yeah. And if we could strip our minds of fear and superstition and all sense of separation from this divine presence, approaching it quite simply and directly, we probably would be surprised at the results which would follow. How can we approach this principle of our being other than directly through our own thought and through the great simplicity of thought? We as people, we like to complicate stuff. We want to take something as simple as what you believe will show up in your life to a place of, oh, well, let me see how I can maintain my procrastination. How can I maintain my little comfort zone here as I hide in the corner? How can I maintain those things and still be, I'm wealthy and healthy and wise? Like, how can I do that? What has to happen is there has to be a shift in consciousness, a shift in perception. We have to start looking at the world in a little bit different way, because if we don't, we'll continue to get what we've always got. What do they say the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If we're doing the same stuff over and over again, we're going to keep getting the same result, and it's going to ramp up. It's going to get a little more uncomfortable every time. So what could a spiritual mind treatment, which is the conscious use of spiritual power, be other than a direct statement of our desire and a simple acceptance of that desire? Since we are desiring, accepting, or rejecting at all times, whether we are conscious of the process or not, we are using this spiritual power at all times. At all times. Awake, asleep, the mind is always moving. So where is it going? What is it doing? What is it working on? How many times a day are you on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or X? How many times a day do you sit down and watch the news? It's on a 24-hour cycle, so you could watch it just about any time. How much time are you spending there, and how do you feel when you're watching it? And then when it comes time to, do some things to make a difference in your life, what are you doing? Are you doing anything, or are you sitting back hoping to be rescued? I used to do that. Please come rescue me. Many people do that, whether they're looking for God to come and save them, or they're looking for a person to come into their life and improve it, or they're looking for some special job which will give them some sort of feeling of, wow, I'm successful, whatever it is, until we are willing to treat and move our feet. Yes, we have to be willing to step into a new idea. We can't continue doing all the old things and expect a new result. So what are you committed to? Are you committed to you, or are you committed to the people around you? And the people around you, they're committed to themselves most often. So again, we want to take a look at where are we putting our intention and our attention. And remember, whatever condition we impose upon this power causes it to appear to us through that condition. There was once a man in America who healed many thousands of people through prayer. This man believed that God wished him to go barefoot. Consequently, he wore no shoes. It was necessary for him to go barefoot in order to arrive at a certain conclusion in his mind. The infinite did not impose this condition upon him. Could he have believed that God desired him to wear satin slippers? His healing ability would have been the same. Whatever the spiritual power is, it works according to an exact law of its own nature. Okay? It operates upon its own nature. It doesn't waver. One of the accusations placed against Jesus was that he ate with publicans and sinners, that he allowed an evil woman to anoint his feet with rare ointment. How could such a man be holy? Yet he exercised a spiritual power transcendent of objective limitations and proclaimed that it was through his belief that he did this. So anybody who was raised within, Christianity, and you were told at some point in time, it is done unto you as you believe. Yeah. So what do you believe? What do you believe about life? What do you believe about yourself? See, there's the big question. Sometimes we look around and we go, wow, my life is really good. I have a nice family. I have a nice home. I drive a nice car. I have a great job. What do I think about me? When I go into a room filled with strangers, do I put on a mask to appear okay or enough? Do I strive to belong in settings where I'm not even comfortable? How am I using this power? How am I using this power? See, it's all personal. You might sit back and go, well, why is that person so successful and I'm not? Check your thinking. Just observe what it is you believe. What do you believe about somebody who's wealthy? Do you think rich people are bad? Just check your thoughts. Check your belief system. And your belief system shows up often with emotion. Somebody touches a little part of you that's a bit sore and you go, don't talk about that in front of me. And we get all of a sudden all upset about things. So when we look at what our emotions are doing, they're telling us something, not about the other person who's speaking, but about ourselves. So let's pay attention to those. Today, we are seeking to make practical use of spiritual law as well as other laws. And in order to do this, we must maintain a spiritual freedom of the intellect. The mind should be free from dogmatic theological bondage, and we should come to believe that we can approach the spirit both consciously and directly. So whatever spiritual power is, it must operate through our minds, and it must do so according to our belief that it can do so. We should not waste any time trying to discover what spiritual law is, since no one knows, nor does anyone know what any law is, only what it does. So we do know this, however, that in using spiritual law, the one having the greatest faith obtains the best results. Any method of procedure that conducts the mind to this place of faith is good. If the mind finds itself already there, then no method is necessary. If we really believed that we are surrounded by a spiritual presence which responds to our word, that when we speak our word into it, our word tends to take form and objectify, then we should have the essence of the whole matter. Wow, how cool is that? What I think about, I bring about. The thing is, we hear this stuff all over the place, right? We hear it, different speakers will talk about these things in a similar manner. There's many, professionals out there who are talking about whether they're doing a podcast or whatever, and they're talking about these ideas, and they might be talking about them in slightly different terms, like the law of attraction or whatever. But what they're talking about is this spiritual law that is everywhere present equally. You got that right? Everywhere present equally. So no one on earth has more power than you. They may be using it differently, but they don't have more power than you. You are powerful. Yes, 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 you are. The universe is so organized. is of such a nature that we reach this straight affirmative factor in such degree as we sense the supremacy of good, the necessity of good, overcoming all evil, the availability of good. The universal mind is centered in itself, knows nothing outside itself, and nothing different from itself. It knows no separation. In such degree as we are conscious of this unity of good, we are conscious of that truth which makes us free. Spiritual power is latent within us, but unless consciously used, appears to have no existence. And it's through our minds that we till the mental soil, cultivate and imbibe the spirit, seize the affirmation of spiritual power, and march with a surer tread. Ernest Holmes, just a word master for sure. So this idea that the way I move, the things I do, what I think, every thought I have is going into that mental soil. You know, you've heard the idea of the, you know, when we talk about this creative power, we'll talk about, you know, planting in the spring. You know, in the spring, we will put a seed in the soil. We will have prepared the soil, you know, removed all the weeds, aerated it, and we plant this plant in there, put the seed in. Well, within the seed is everything that's needed for it to become whatever it is. Now, if I plant a seed and it's a seed for zucchini, I plant that, I water it, I make sure it's in a sunny location, and I prepare everything for it to flourish. And I do that by removing weeds, watering, giving it some good food, maybe fertilizing a little bit, and ta-da, come September, I have zucchini. But if I planted that seed thinking it was carrots, when fall comes and I go to pick that zucchini, I'm going to quickly find there's no zucchini there. Why? Because what I planted is what grew. What am I planting in my mind that is going to grow out of that seed? Our seed thought is what's going to create. Our seed thought is moving us forward. Whatever that seed is, if it's a seed of doubt and fear and upset and life isn't fair and, you know, all of this anger and frustration, then that seed is planted. What must come is something that matches it exactly. More fear, more confusion, more upset. You see, the universe is exact. It is a law, the law of cause and effect. What I put out comes back to me, multiplied and overflowing. Ever hear somebody say, oh yeah, Murphy's Law, you know, all bad things. It's like we talk about things like it's normal for everything to be bad and wrong. What if we turned that around and said, no, 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 it's normal for things to be good and brilliant and beautiful, warm and inviting, peaceful and joyous. That's what should be the norm. But many of us are not experiencing that. So what is it that we are cultivating? What is it that we're planting in the mental soil? What is it that we truly want to experience or receive? Where are we at really? Be honest with yourself. Not to judge, not to blame, but to go, whoa, I got a belief running that I don't like. I'm experiencing, you know, some health issues. And wait a minute, I'd prefer to be healthy and strong and vital and vibrant. I don't want to be limited. What is it that we're planting? Oh no, I can't pay my bills. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. What is it that we're doing that allows us then to feel smaller than, broken, flawed, whatever the case may be? What is it that we're doing? So like other laws, spiritual law should be really used. And as we come to see that spiritual power is the use of the natural law, the whole thing will become more simple. We shall no longer separate matter from spirit. Ah, there we go. Separating matter from spirit. We do that, don't we? Have you ever thought about that? You know, you can get this book, Think Your Troubles Away by Ernest Holmes, on the Science of Mind Library and Archives. Be worth getting. It's a great little book. So here's the thing. God is love, reason, beauty, truth, and wisdom, the essence of all salutary attributes and qualities. But if we are looking upon life with sadness, doubt, and fear, then to us God becomes these things. For if spirit should proclaim itself, it would be compelled to say, I look at you as you look at me. This is why the enlightened have said that God's only language is yea and amen. This yea is incarnated in us, and our own amen decides the form it is to take. Yes, we decide the form. Now, that's not to say that we're to blame for what's going on in our lives. We're not to blame. However, we are responsible, able. We can respond to whatever's going on, and we can respond to it in a positive and productive way, or we can respond to it in an angry, frustrated, negative way. It's just up to us. Or we can look at it as a neutral event and go, oh, all right, that's what it is, and move on. It is up to us how we're approaching this. So the transcendent powers of the human mind proclaim the divinity of us. The more completely one penetrates the mystery of their own mind, the more they must come to realize that this is a study of the human mind. This is not a study of the human mind at all, but that through the avenue of what we call a human mind, we are penetrating an infinite sea of intelligence. An infinite sea of intelligence. Yeah, infinite. Do you know what infinite is? I don't. It's too big. It's too much, right? It is not our external personality, but this inner principle operating through us, which gives us the power to stand, to walk, to think, and to be. We must realize that there is no matter opposed to spirit. No material universe separated from the spiritual universe. You see, it's all one. There is only one. We are not turning then from the human to the divine. The divine is but turning to itself, giving expression to itself. The self comes bearing its own gifts. So spirit is showing up as me. And the way I think, the way I believe, where I go with that is up to me. I can be miserable and unhappy and frustrated with the world, and the whole thing's gone to hell in a handbasket. I can think those thoughts. Absolutely, I can. And what will my life look like? The other option is I can sit back and go, wow, there's a lot of good in our world. There is a lot of good in our world. Much more good than bad. And I see it everywhere I look. Right? Our words create our experience. What is it that you're saying about you? What is it you're saying about life? What is that inner voice, that intuition suggesting to you? Go here, go there, do this, do that. Like what's coming up for you? What inspiration do you have that you've maybe not followed? I think most of us can say we've not listened to our intuition at least once, probably more often. We lack the experience of consciously using spiritual power because we've not tried definitely to demonstrate that we already have this power and can use it. Well, the fact is, we not only can use it, we are using it. 24/7, we're using this power because it is who we are and what we are. So we're using it all the time. but we're using it in a way that's creating things that we don't want to create. So why are we doing that? Because we don't know. You see, that's why we're not to blame for anything. We might be responsible for participating in negativity, but we're not to blame because we have, some situation arise that is uncomfortable for us. That's just the nature of life, right? Life has bumps in the road, and we're all going to experience those. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. It simply is. But if we can navigate those things using this divine power creatively and consciously, we can begin to move through those experiences with a greater sense of ease. We can begin to look at life and say, yes. Yes to this, yes to that, yes. I say yes to life. I say yes to being me. See, that's the other challenge that we have is we look around us and we see somebody who seems to be doing better or looks better or walks better or, I don't know, does something better than I do. And we look at that person and go, oh, God, I wish I was like that. No, no, no. Don't wish that. You don't know who they are. You don't know their life. You don't know that inside journey. You have no idea what you might be setting yourself up for. The truth is, each and every one of us came into this life, into this world, perfect, whole, and complete. Each and every one of us shows up here as a divine idea. The way we are created is the right way for us, not necessarily anybody else, but it's right for me. And if it's right for me and I live from that rightness, I am now modeling a behavior that begins to transform my life, but also impacts the people around me who begin to see that something has changed. There's something different. What's happened? And we can look at that and we can go, wow, is she ever lucky? Or we can look at it and go, what did you do? How'd you do that? And we just might learn something new. The journey that we're on is personal. Each one of us has this power, and we can consciously use it. And we must prove to ourselves that the power of our own word, spoken in harmony with the great cause, is the law unto the thing whereunto it is spoken. When a majority realize this, the thought of the world will be revolutionized, and its objective transformation will produce a greater freedom for all. Yeah. How marvelous would that be? Imagine a peaceful world. Imagine being able to, as a woman, go out at night and wander the streets, enjoying the night air and the sounds of the little critters at night, the frogs and the crickets, and just feeling the energy of that nighttime experience without having to think about, who might be hiding in the bush. It would be wonderful as a woman or as a man to be able to feel a deep sense of freedom. And that comes with acknowledging this power that we have. We neither fast nor feast to arrive at spiritual power. Spirit is already in the loaf of bread. We are not spiritual because we refuse to eat it. Spirit is already occupying all space. The loaf of bread adds nothing to it. The apparent power from fasting is not in abstaining from food, but rather in the fact that the hunger for an idea is greater than the hunger for food. Some have fasted and obtained. Some have feasted and obtained. Both were right. Some have prayed without ceasing. Some have not prayed, but have contemplated the inner presence. None of these methods changes the eternal verities of our being. But if any one of these methods causes the mind to more greatly believe and to more completely receive, the method is right for the one using it, no matter what name it may go by. So we don't worry about, what this religion does or that religion does. We don't worry about any of those things, because what we know is that if anyone is using this spiritual power, it doesn't matter what their fundamental beliefs are. If they're using this power and they're using it in a way that is constructive for humanity, it will prove to be successful and beautiful and loving. The Spirit knows itself and knows us as itself. And it's only as we know it that we know ourselves. And it's only as we embody this knowledge that we have real spiritual power. What difference then whether we treat, sing, feast, fast, or dance? Only let us be sure that we arrive at our destination. And what is this destination? It is that place in our minds where we no longer doubt, where there is no opposition to good, where God is all, but where God is natural, spontaneous, the interior awareness of our thought. There will never be anything external to this inner knowingness. Are we there yet? Have we arrived at that place of inner knowing? And it's okay if we haven't, because I think most of us probably haven't. But we can get there. And we use spiritual mind treatment. We use meditation. We might use journaling to help us uncover a block. You see, we're human beings living in what appears to be a very finite experience. And we believe the finite more than the infinite. So I invite you today to really explore, what do I believe about God? And if you don't like the word God, use universe or higher power. Doesn't matter. The word can't define it anyway. Am I willing to use that power consciously to change my life? Am I willing to love myself enough to go out into the world with that enoughness and to be able to share that love, that acceptance, that appreciation with the people that I come in contact with? Questions, 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 you know. Sometimes we have lots of them. It's great to see you here, Mohsin. The mind must definitely see what it wishes to experience and is definitely repudiate what it does not wish to experience. So I want to touch on this because this is an important point. We have the ability to create an experience. And if we have something happening that we don't particularly like, we don't want to focus on that because that increases it, expands it, and attracts it to us even more. What we want to do instead is go, what would I like instead of this? What do I want instead of this? And think about that for a minute. And if I've been living in poverty, I might turn around and go, well, I would like wealth. I would like to have, a sustainable, positive, ever increasing flow of wealth in my life. I'm not going to treat about poverty. I don't want to create more of that. I want to use the power to demonstrate something new. So I have to be clear about what that newness is. Demonstration will be as perfect as is the subjective embodiment of thought. If we realize that form is spirit in manifestation, that the father of any specific form is a subjective idea, and that we can consciously create, then we shall have a correct method for effective practice. The one wishing to make direct and conscious use of spiritual law should first believe in spiritual power and in the creativeness of their own thought. Then we should compel our minds to act as though this belief were true. And when the subjective state of our thought, which is the inner mind, completely accepts an idea that is in line with the nature of reality, then we shall demonstrate that idea in our experience. Ta-da! So I'll share an example in my life. When I first had a spiritual realization of God, a few days later, I was a heavy smoker at the time, 4 packages a day. And when I had this realization that God is everywhere, God is love, I woke up one morning and thought, whoa, this is the temple of God, and I don't have the right to kill it. Okay. I butted out that last cigarette. I've never smoked since. It's been 40 years. And I've never had a craving. When our mind is clear, the demonstration is clear. How does that sound to you? Does that sound good? Does that sound like something you could work with, live with, be with? Like, you know, does that sound like something you want to create from or expand to? Well, come and join us every Saturday morning, because there's always somebody here talking about something beautiful. So our time is up. I hope you'll come again next Saturday, and throughout the week, check out all the programming on the New Thought Media Network, because it really does serve your well-being. And consider making a donation, ntmedia.org, and click donate, and consider a recurring donation. The programming here does rely on your generosity. That's how we keep these programs running. Those of us who are doing shows are volunteers, and we do this out of the love of our heart and the love of this teaching and the love of the New Thought Media Network. So I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, and just to know that you truly are a divine and precious being filled with love and light. So as we relax into this moment and move forward, just know that you are loved and appreciated, and that God is with you now, forever, and always. And thank you for watching. I'm Reverend Barbara Jean from Toronto, Canada, and I am so grateful to have been here with you today. Have a lovely weekend.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.